Hello, everybody. Welcome to podcast number 2 of the Athlete Hackers. My name's
What's going
Chris
on,
Schrade,
everybody?
and there's
And I'm
Mark Spellman.
Sorry.
That's okay. Today's topic, the advantage of training athletes during the coronavirus. Does that sound counterintuitive?
For most people, yes. As you and I've been talking off air, I've talked with a bunch of strength and conditioning coaches right now who are really outside of their comfort zone because, we're talking April. So, the NCAA championship games tomorrow night, or it was scheduled for tomorrow night.
Oh.
The women's championship game is tonight. So you got a bunch of coaches who are used to dealing and having the opportunity to work with a bunch of athletes who can't right now.
Yeah, it's a completely crazy time. We're about 3 weeks into this now. Is that about?
Our house is coming up on week 4. We went inside a little earlier because we were in contact with one of our friends is a nurse, and she was in contact with somebody at the hospital. So we went inside a little quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy time. I mean, and I think in terms of athletics, people see it as a very negative time, and you can make that argument. I mean, I feel, I was thinking the other day, I had the opportunity to play in a state championship my senior year in basketball, and I was just thinking back, what if I couldn't participate in that? What if this happened back then? I mean, it happened literally right during playoff times during basketball. Everything got canceled. And if you had a good team where, you were possibly going to make a league championship or a state championship, it's completely heartbreaking.
Yeah, but if you look at it this way, if this is the hardest thing ever, like if this part of your life that, your senior year, you didn't get to play in a game, you're still going to live a pretty charmed life.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things.
Teach you a couple things.
In the grand scheme of things, for sure. But I mean, that being said, there were opportunities missed, and people are seeing this as a trying time. The reason I went off on a limb and said the advantage to training athletes during the coronavirus, that came from kind of my own experience with my son, at least for the first week, because like I said, we're 3 weeks at least into the schooling, and that first week when teachers were trying to adjust and trying to get things rolling, the learning schedule was a little more open to interpretation. They put out a couple resources, and I was in charge with coming up with my son's daily schedule, so I was able to put out blocks of time that were for school and using the resources that the school put out at first. But I had sports training built in there all along, to be able to give them a break. So I saw it as an advantage because every day when school was going on, I'd ask them, like, hey, what'd you do during the recess? You know what the answer was every time? Take a guess. It was it had to do with basketball. They played basketball, but what particular? What would you guess?
Horse.
Knockout. Every single day, knockout. And I'm like, man, I mean, you got to do something else. I mean, you got to play 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 4-on-4, whatever. Do some other things besides knockout. And
yeah, but Dad, I win at knockout.
Well, it would never happen. It was the excuse was, well, everybody wants to play knockout, and I can't get anyone to play anything else. So this is an advantage because now I can actually give him a structured workout, and I thought it was an advantage. So I'd schedule 3 different workouts. He'd do a basketball workout, he'd do a lacrosse workout, and then he'd do a baseball workout. That was the first week. The last 2 weeks where he's actually had a schedule for school, that's kind of fallen by the wayside. So After we're done recording this, I think that's my next order of business is to put his sports schedule together for coming up this week.
He's hoping school opens up.
No, he loves it. He loves it. I think that's a problem.
I saw somebody post yesterday that their kid really hopes that that they don't get the same teacher that they get next year. They don't.
The same
they
grade?
don't want. No, so like because everybody's homeschooling,
Yeah.
so the kid was like, "Man, I really hope I don't get the teacher I have."
His parents?
Now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I think a lot of this goes back to mindset. You know, control the controllable. And right now, a lot of people are having a hard time because they can't control a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But what you can control is your mindset. You can control the things that you can control. And, you know, when you look at it, one of the things with mindset that I always tell people, you know, the difference between I have to and I get to. You don't have to do, like right now, you really don't have to. There's a lot of things you don't have to do, but you get to do them. Like when we get off this, I'm going to do my continuing education.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take my dog for a walk. I'm going to get a workout in today. I mean, but I get to do those things. Once I change it to I have to do those things, it changes the whole mindset, and it actually changes the chemical in your brain. To whether it's a positive or a negative thing. So you might as well try and go into everything that you get to do is that, you know, you get to do it. It should, and there are a lot of people that would love to do what you get to do.
Yeah. And I think, you know, to your point, you know, a lot of the stuff that needs to take place in order to become a better athlete, it's hard work. It's draining, it's tiring, it's painful. And I think in order to motivate yourself, like we've talked last time, it's goals. It's being able to put your goals in the front of your mind, and then ordering yourself and keeping that perspective in as you go and do it. And I think that's the positive reinforcement, like you were talking about, that a lot of athletes have to give themselves.
Oh yeah, I think, you know, as I've said, I've talked with a bunch of strength coaches recently about what they're doing and all this stuff, and you know, what happens when all these college athletes come back and they're actually healthier from being away?
They should.
Well, exactly, they should. I mean, yes, you're at home. There's another stress adding to your life, but you also have a little more freedom with how you manage your time.
Yeah, there's a lot of nagging injuries that could be healed in this time.
Exactly. So, you know, when everybody's allowed to go back, and, you know, hopefully that's sooner than later, a lot of coaches are looking at what do we do to get them prepared for their fall sport. Well, you better pump the brakes on what you give these kids, because you have no idea what they've been doing.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to do an assessment on each athlete to see if they've actually kept themselves in shape, because the injuries will heal, but if they're not putting the work in, they're susceptible to get injured the minute they come back, which is, I think, the point you're trying to make.
Yeah, I think you know, it's really going to be important for the strength coach, the athletic trainers, and the head coaches to sit down and have a very straightforward plan, and understand that if they come in day one and are really upset that they missed this time, guess what? Everybody missed this time. It just wasn't your team. So guess what? Everybody's starting at baseline zero. Yeah. So you just, that's what you got to understand. I mean, well, I think
did I see that the NCAA said that the spring sport athletes are going to get another year of eligibility?
I think they deemed it possible, but it's based on each institution. The Ivy League as a conference said no.
Oh, okay.
The Ivy League said we're not doing a fifth year for anybody, so sorry. No, but if you look at it, and you know, we touched a little bit on this with our first podcast. You know, if the biggest thing in your life is your biggest disappointment is that your last year of collegiate athletics was taken away from you. Yes, I understand that was something. It is very upsetting, but at the same time, if that's your biggest disappointment in your life, you're gonna live a charmed life. You're gonna be okay. Trust me, you'll be
sure.
okay.
Yep. So, Mark, what are the ages of your kids at home?
15-year-old, 13, and 10.
And what have you been doing with them during this break to keep them conditioned?
Um, I I keep them on task. I keep them scheduled as best as possible. You know, one of the big things in our house is like every day you get up, you got to make your bed. And I got that from the gentleman, the Admiral. I got his book right
You got
here.
the book?
Yeah, Make Your Bed by William McRaven. It's a little book, but you can also, if you have some time, you can YouTube his commencement speech at the University of Texas, and just the importance of making your bed. And he looked at it as, you know, when you get up every day and you make your bed, you start off the day with a victory. And if you have a bad day, you come home and you get to go into a made bed to go to sleep. So it's one of those little things. But like, you know, when I get off this, I'll make sure that everybody's up and, you know, they've done what they have to do, made their bed, and we're ready for our day. Yesterday, my son, he's like, "Dad, I'm going to run a 10K." I was like, "All right, you know,
Awesome.
enjoy it."
He's
But that
going
was on
out.
the
He's
heels.
going out doing road work.
Yeah, you know, it's the farthest he's ever run. And he's like, "How do I do that?" I was like, "Well, you do your 5K, twice."
Laughs.
So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like he has a 5K route that he runs, and then you know, we go from there. But this was on the heels of the day before. I got on my erg for an hour, and I rode 13,900 meters in an hour.
Nice.
Yeah, it sucked.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but once again, I get to do that. I didn't have to do it. I got to do it. You know, and that's, you know, when you're sitting on an erg, or if you're doing anything for an hour that's not fun or is physically strenuous, you know, you have to work it in your mentality at some point during that time. But everybody knows that, at least in my house, every day we have at least an hour of activity.
Yeah.
You know.
Weren't you doing sprint workouts with them at one point?
Yeah, I mean, with my oldest son.
Oh, and just a side question: do you still have a football field painted in your backyard?
No, that was for my 40th birthday party. But coming up on my 50th, I think we're gonna go. I think we're gonna go college theme again.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of my wheelhouse.
So sorry that you were doing a sprint workout with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like you said, it's the advantage of training during this coronavirus is that you have to be able to think outside your box, because not a lot of people have a home gym. So calisthenics are huge. Body weight exercises, huge. Being able to move through all three planes of motion efficiently and effectively. For a lot of athletes, they can't do it. But they can do it when they play their sport, but they can't do it when they're not playing their sport. So it's kind of interesting to watch. But making sure that there's a schedule of, okay, today's a distance day, today's an agility day, today's a sprint day, and then, you know, working off of that.
And I think there's got to be a balance between your skill work and your physical work. You know, you've got to, you know, some athletes kind of tend to lean one towards the other. Either they'll do too much conditioning and they'll let their skills fall to the wayside, or vice versa. There'll be someone who likes to work on their skills, like a basketball player, just working on his jump shot all the time. He's got a great jump shot, but if he doesn't keep up his physical training, it's going to be difficult to come back come the fall and winter of 2020.
Well, I mean, people like to do what they're successful at. People don't like to do things that they're not good at,
Mm-hmm.
or trying new skills. And I think, and I really wrapped my head around this probably a week or 2 weeks ago. If you come out of this pandemic as not a better person somehow, you've really missed it. You really are not seeing it for what it is. Yes, it is a huge health issue right now, and I'm not going to downplay that at all. But once again, control the controllable. What can you control? What can you do to become a better person, a better husband, a better father, a better wife, a better mother, a better person? Like I said, I stay to schedule. Like every day, I do the same thing. I read every day. I do continuing education every day, and I work out every day. And I make sure that I'm a good husband and a good father, or I try to be the best I can be in that given day. So if you're not using this time, I think you'll look back at this time and be like, man, I really wasted an opportunity. Well, we started a podcast. So we're trying to help people during this time, even though I don't think a lot of people. Once again,
it's hard to get out there and physically help them.
But it's also a mindset. Like what, if you're using this "oh woe is me" mentality, well, yeah, this time's gonna suck.
Yeah,
but
and you know what? There's going to be advantage for the coaches if you don't work hard right now. You high school and college athletes, if you don't put the work in right now and continue to get better and keep your skills honed, the advantage is going to be with the coaches being able to cut you a lot easier.
Yeah, you're going to make the decision for them. Like, when athletes would always complain to me, I'm not playing, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I would look at them and be like, well, who's ahead of you? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing better or different than the person that's playing ahead of you?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you have to beat that person every time in every drill, and you have to do it on a consistent basis. Like, coming to me as your strength coach and complaining that coach isn't playing you, coach gets paid to play who's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. Yeah, a lot of coaches, they say that they don't have favorites, but they do. They're human. But at the same time, probably their favorites are the ones that help them do their job the easiest.
I think people mistake that sometimes as an emotional thing. Their favorites, as if they're their little pets. That's not necessarily the case. It's strategic. They're their favorites because they're the best weapons that they have in order to win a game, which is what their goal is.
But also the best players probably are doing all the things that the coach wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. It's usually not by accident. So.
Well, I think that's.
Sorry, I went off on a little rant there, but.
No, that's okay. You got a little a short little workout you want to give everybody?
Yeah, I think today we're really just going to hone in on the basics and the fundamentals. So a vertical push, a vertical pull, a squat pattern, and then a hinge pattern, and then a heavy carry. I'm lucky enough that at my house I have a bunch of kettlebells, I have farmer walks, I have an erg, I've got anchor chains, I've got battle ropes, I've got a bunch of toys I got a bunch of toys.
So the cars aren't getting parked in the garage.
No, they're usually in the way. So, but let's go back and let's work on the fundamentals. Let's be able to lunge in all three planes of motion, and by all three planes of motion, I mean frontal, sagittal, and transverse. So you got to be able to go front to back. You got to be able to go side to side, and you got to be able to move around. If you want to look this up, you can YouTube it. Go look up Todd Wright and lunge matrix, and that will help you get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So it's a bunch of lunges with a bunch of reaches to open up the body, but to also make sure that you can move efficiently and effectively.
All right. So is that's the push?
Actually, that's a lower. That's a lower body movement. So it's a lunge. So it's lunging with reaches, and then let's go push-ups, and with push-ups, let's go 5 count on the way down. 1 second hold at the midpoint, and then come up as fast as you can.
Explode.
So, yep. So 5-1-0 on the push-ups.
How many?
If you
how
can,
many should they do?
Go 10. So we're gonna go through this workout 3 times, and we'll go kind of like we'll do our lunges with reaches, our push-ups, and then let's get in inverted row. So if you can find a way to get underneath something and pull yourself up. If you have a pull-up bar, great. If you have a towel and a tree outside, you can do body weight rows where you're pulling yourself to the tree. Same deal. Let's go 5 seconds in. Let's go in quickly, hold it for 2 seconds, and come out 5 seconds. So we're really
the explosion comes the first move, pull in fast, hold for a second, and then let go 5 seconds slowly.
Yep. So we're really working on the eccentric phase of the lift.
Okay.
Where you're the strongest.
All right. So there you go, folks. You got your workout of the day from Mark.
Yeah, it's a very simple 3x3.
Awesome. And we'll post the workout in text form on whatever sites we can that this podcast goes up to. All right. So this wraps up podcast number 2. Podcast number 3, we're going to talk about the importance of cross-training and multiple sport participation.
And youth athletic development.
Awesome. Great job out of you today, pal.
All right, buddy.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yep. All my best. God bless. Stay safe.